Hello, this is Dr. David Illig of ConsciousnessMap. This is a program for learning about human consciousness. It's also learning about your consciousness. So how does human consciousness work? First of all, we are not as simple as we appear from the outside. Look at him. He looks so simple compared to how complicated it is in you. But you know that because you experience things from the inside. You might look simple to us, but you know it's very complicated inside. We just can't see most of it out here. Let's start with the concept that humans are actually made up of parts and levels. What does that mean? Let's talk about levels of consciousness, levels of awareness. The top level is fully conscious, fully aware. Everything is clear, visible, apparent, tangible, obvious, observable, measurable, under intentional, on-purpose control. And as we go down in level, things are less than full awareness. Almost full awareness, but not quite full awareness. If we just focus a little more attention, that level also moves into full awareness. Our amount of attention can move things up or down in level of awareness. And each level you go down, there is less and less conscious awareness from the surface. As you go down in level, there's less and less conscious control of that lower level from the surface level above. It's somewhat like things are less and less visible to you, even though they are still there in full size, just not as visible to you from the surface, not as visible as things are on the surface. So you can get some sense that there's much more going on. Things are totally there, but you don't have the full awareness of them from the conscious level like you did when they were in full consciousness. So some part of you can read those messages. When you learn to explore those deeper levels, from down there, things are much clearer. There is less and less awareness from the surface as you move down. You may be totally unaware of something, while another person is fully aware of it. It is visible to them and invisible to you. At deeper levels, you get to the point where you can't access it from the surface consciousness. It is out of conscious reach. observation, even when you try hard. Yes, there is an entire world there. You just can't tell that consciously. Computer scientists in the area of artificial intelligence and brain researchers have a better handle on human consciousness than psychologists. Imagine that a human is made up of 100 computers. Maybe 5 to 10 of the computers have screens you can consciously see and keyboards and mice you can consciously control. Think of these various computers as the software and hardware that operates at the different levels. The human brain is far beyond any supercomputer in terms of its parallel processing abilities. It may not be faster than a computer. It is vastly larger. There are literally trillions of connections, so this model is actually simplified. 90 to 95 of the other computers are also running, but you can't see the screens or control the keyboards or mice consciously. That is conscious and unconscious. You can think of subconscious as simply meaning something less than fully conscious, less than full awareness. It's a matter of degree, from a little bit to fully out of consciousness. Unconscious means completely out of conscious awareness. Deeper and deeper, deeper and deeper, even deeper. But they are there, just not in conscious awareness. There is awareness at deeper levels. It gets even more interesting. Bring on quantum physics or string theory. That's because almost everything has subconscious, unconscious dimensions. Subconscious aspects are another dimension to all sorts of things. There are surface feelings and emotions about almost anything. But there are also feelings and emotions at a lower level that might be a little different. And then there are feelings and emotions at a deeper level that might be very different. Our perceptions of people, places, things, actions, and so on can be one thing at the surface, how we see things, think of things, hear things, and so on. But at a lower level, our perceptions can be very different or the same. Meanings and perceptions can be very different at the lower levels. And at even lower levels, our reality can be very different than our reality on the surface. So the levels of consciousness are like another dimension, like height, width, length. There are meanings to you on the surface, maybe different meanings a level down. even more different meanings another level down, and maybe hugely different meanings at much deeper levels. We also have memories at our surface consciousness. At a level just below, the memories might be slightly different. And at an even deeper level, the memories might be greatly different. And which memory is the most accurate? Think of everything potentially having underlying dimensions, subconscious dimensions. You have beliefs on the surface. Your beliefs on that issue slightly below the surface might be slightly different. Your beliefs on that issue deeper down may be more different. And at much deeper levels, your beliefs may be very different, even the opposite. For example, I really want that job. I'm 100% sure. It's perfect. I can do it. A level down, I'm afraid I can't handle that job, so maybe I should pass. Deeper down, my dad told me I would never amount to anything. I have to believe him. Deepest down, I don't really deserve this great job. I need to suffer more. Now let's talk about parts. We'll add that to levels. From the outside, this woman looks like one person, correct? There is only one body. However, from the inside, a human is actually a group. A human is a group of parts. Yes, it's true, and I will convince you. You have parts, I have parts, everybody has parts. The parts are at lower levels of consciousness, awareness. If this is new to you, you will never look at people the same or yourself. And this is good news, not bad. Different parts are at different levels of consciousness. Some are very near the surface consciousness. Others are buried very deep. This is a diagram of human nature. You'll want to remember this. Human consciousness, human nature. All humans have parts. We are born and built to have parts, but nobody tells us. All humans are made up of parts, but it might be easier to understand first how a part comes to exist. First, more and more consciousness experts are believing that we come into life with our brain-mind designed to build parts. Some believe we already have parts at birth. Let's look at how a part comes to exist. Even at age of 2, this child's brain has many millions of brain cells and billions of synaptic connections, connections of brain cells. It is often called a neural net. It is the neural net that contains who and what she is at the time from the inside. This is a simplified representation of a person's internal experience of self at some year of their life. Everything about you on the inside, when you were 2, was represented and accessed in your brain-mind neural network at the time. Don't think of it as if there was an organ or area where your 2-year-old existence and sense of being was. Rather, think of it as the essence of you that you were at the time from the inside was a pattern of connections through your brain-mind, a network, a web. In your neural network, even at age 2, were all of the things that you think of when considering what it means to be you from the inside. There were your perceptions, sights, sounds, smells, feels, sensations, tastes, and memories of those perceptions. There were also all of your memories of anything put into memory at the time and before. There were all of your beliefs, understandings about anything and everything. There were all your thoughts and self-talk in the unique patterns you used at the time. There were your fantasies and imaginations. There were your fears, angers, frustrations, joys, happiness, likes, dislikes, pleasures, desires, hopes, wants, dreams. You had worries, pains, doubts, anxieties. And you do remember the earlier teaching about levels, correct? So even as a child back then, you often had things operating at multiple levels in addition to the surface. Those two were in your neural web. And there was a sense of self, a sense of me. I'm in here. A sense of who and what I am. You had a sense of your own patterns inside, from the inside. Even a 6-year-old has some sense of their own neural web. The people in your life had entire webs in your network connecting them to your feelings, images, sensations, thoughts, memories, understandings, beliefs, opinions, and so on. Your web also had information associated with all of the beliefs, understandings, perspectives, feelings, and so forth of those people in your life. Therefore, within your neural web, there was a model of the significant people in your life. They lived inside you also. Lots going on in there. So the 2-year-old or 6-year-old that you were is mostly this pattern of unique connections, not as much as the content of the connections themselves, but the information about the connections. The information about your 2 or 6-year-old neural net web is relatively an easy thing to store given the brain's massive storage and parallel processing abilities. And it does automatically at some level of consciousness. It is almost like a small software program that organizes a large amount of data. The brain's software makes the connections that result in the essence of you at 2, 6, 13, or whatever. I think of it as a bunch of webs, some that share connections. Some memories or attitudes could be shared across webs. Some parts and years seem to combine. So age 2 and 3 might combine, or 10, 11, 12 might seem to combine, or 24 to 28. We don't really know whether that means that there is or isn't a pure 11 aspect at some deeper level. Some years of self seem to completely move, either totally out of reach, blend completely together, or simply fade out of existence as a unit. There's a lot we don't know, and people differ greatly. But the essence of different ages will last your entire life. Their neural net can easily be activated. I believe that is our human nature for our brain mind to record essence of self at various ages. Past webs are active or can be activated, as well as our current web of self. I have never talked with a person behind closed doors who firmly said that they didn't have a child within them. I have talked to elderly people over the years, and they agree, some shortly before their death, that yes, there still was a young child within. The ages of the parts vary a lot. Some may have a 4-year-old as their youngest part, others an 8-year-old. They have also said I was the first person to directly talk out loud to those younger parts, even when the body appears to be old. And you can tell that the part recognizes it's being talked to. It's pretty magical. Some have said that I was the first person in their lives who ever asked them about those inner parts, and that I was the first person they ever told that there was a child inside. Nobody ever told them there was supposed to be a child in there, and a teenager also, among others. It's one of the best kept secrets on planet Earth. It can even be more interesting in that we may have several parts of the same age. For example, I might have a 13-year-old part who is creative, caring, gentle, and loving. I might also have a 13-year-old part who is angry, frustrated, resentful, agitated, aggressive, mean. And they might not even know each other. So it is actually unclear what parts we have and how many there are. But everybody has a bunch. We know it varies between people. It varies over time. Parts may be separate for a while and then blend with others. It's a wondrous mystery in there, and it can feel overwhelming at first, but with some patience and effort, we can get used to the group that we are. So when you think of yourself or anybody, everybody, you should think of all the parts that might be involved. And not all parts are involved in all issues or situations. And yes, parts can have all the same sort of issues going on as the surface consciousness. Parts can feel things that the surface doesn't. It is common that when some adults seem to be having unexplained and unaccepted anxiety, fear, panic, insecurity, it actually isn't the conscious adult self that is having it. Somehow, a younger part, has gotten too near the front, the surface. And it is this younger part that is having the panic. And for the younger part, panic makes sense. How would you like to be 9 years old and be giving a speech to an international banking conference? It happens. So instead of saying, "Why am I afraid?" try asking yourself, "Who of me is terrified?" Or who of me is very angry or hurt or sad or worried or hating or attacking, and so forth. She or he can benefit from your help on the issues. Oftentimes, the important thing is to simply move the younger part to the rear and out of the pilot driver's seat. And have your conscious adult part, who is supposed to be running the show, step to the front. Often we don't realize another part has taken over or stepped to the front. And remember the levels issue. Some parts are at very deep levels. They are more difficult to access. Others are close to the surface. Those can be easy to access for you or even for others. ConsciousnessMap will help you to start noticing your parts more. Part of this is finally having permission to recognize you and we have parts. Part of this is because you will now have a visual place to record them, represent them. It's like giving them a location to be, and giving them some descriptions will add huge clarity, giving them a welcome home. And most importantly, having a place to locate parts will vastly increase your understanding of your parts. You will learn about the team that is you and what they need. And you'll learn how to take care of your parts and also get your parts to be helping you as well. So, some parts of us are neural nets that relate to us as we were at different ages, or several ages combined. But there is more. Yes. There are also parts in us that relate to themes, issues, emotions, beliefs, desires, wants, fears, joys, self-esteem, and so on. Examples might even be mother issues or father issues, general themes. These are called thematic parts, in other words, theme-based parts. Such parts may or may not have any connection with particular age parts, but they are still neural nets. These theme parts will also be helped by being given a place to be in ConsciousnessMap. It will be easier to work with such parts when they have a place, a home to be. And there are all sorts of theme parts, both pleasant and painful. A part of me that feels crushed, disfigured, ugly. My resentment towards women. My angers at men. My dislike of myself. The part of me that feels frightened and timid, the part of me that wants to live like a hermit, my frustrations with the world, a sense of scarcity, lack, depression, sadness, anger at the world. But don't worry, for all the negative, there's also tons and tons of positive. You'll see. And the list goes on with all sorts of painful feelings, beliefs, desires, fears, and so forth. And we will need to learn they are there and how to cope with their existence. They exist in all of us. In fact, every dark thing there is exists somewhere in us, at least in some amount. They are supposed to be there. They can all become resources. Having a place to put them is an important first step. ConsciousnessMap allows you to do this. And the most important element to exploring and working with the inner universe is forgiveness and compassion. We can't do the inner work we all need without forgiveness and compassion. It's a necessary ingredient for that self-exploration. Both forgiveness of ourselves and forgiveness of others. Also, compassion towards ourselves and compassion towards others. And also, all the things that we think of as pleasant or positive. Yes, you are a complex person, and it is a complex universe in there. Why didn't they tell us? Well, now we are telling you. And it's an important thing to learn. It gives you a huge advantage over most people who never learn these things. But every aspect serves important needs and needs a place to be, a place you can put it. So if you worry that there is too much negative stuff, just look at examples of the many, many positive things I'm talking about. These also need to have locations and homes represented in ConsciousnessMap, so they can contribute more. And this just scratches the surface. There's going to be an awful lot of things located in that internal world map of yours. ConsciousnessMap is built so that it can almost indefinitely and infinitely expand in all directions and into all different types of environments. So no matter how big that internal universe is, ConsciousnessMap can handle it. ConsciousnessMap can both help you to map out where you've been and what you've been, as well as to map out the places that you're going to go in your future. So ConsciousnessMap can be a lifelong tool you can use for the rest of your life. This is Dr. David Illig. Thank you for listening, watching, and learning, and pass it on. Thank you.